Story of the Wren and the Bear. Now, this is a Brothers Grimm story, but it does have a kind of flavour of something that goes back a very, very long way. The Wren, of course, does appear in some sort of traditional, let's say, bardic kind of tales. The wolf and the bear were walking through the forest one day, and they heard a bird singing. It was such a beautiful song. And the bear said to the wolf, "What is that beautiful music?" And the wolf said, "It's the king of the birds." And the bear kind of believed his little joke. And they followed the sound of the singing and found a little wren's nest. And the wolf said, "The king of the hedge." In the story of the wren, you find out, sometimes called the wren the eagle, find out why the wren's the king of the hedge. The bear looked at the 6 little baby wrens that had been left by their parents in the nest and said, "But they're a disgrace. They're just tiny little things." And the baby wrens took great offence at this. So when the king, their father, and the queen, their mother, came back, said that the bear insulted us. The bear said that we were a disgrace. We're a disgrace. And the wren, who of course always had a rather higher opinion of himself than was entirely warranted for such a tiny little bird, said, "We'll see about that." So the father wren flew to the bear's den and said, "But you insulted my children. You know that the wren was very nearly king of the birds and is now king of the hedge." And the bear just ignored him. So the wren declared war on the animals. And the wren called together all the birds, all the flying insects, all the gnats, the flies, the bees, and they all gathered together in a great army. And on the other side, all the 4-legged animals gathered together. And of course they were joined by the fox, the wily character. So the wolf talked to the fox, said, "What will we do? I think you should be our leader, for you are the most cunning of all the animals." And the fox agreed. And the fox said, "When I raise my bushy tail, it is time for the army to advance and attack. If my bushy tail goes down, it is time for the army to retreat. It is every animal for himself. It is just a case of running." Now, the birds and the insects had sent the gnat. And gnats are, of course, clever and cunning and mischievous. And the gnat hid under a leaf. And the gnat heard all of this, so the gnat knew about the signal from the fox's bushy tail, that if the fox's bushy tail was up, the army was to advance, and if the fox's bushy tail fell down, the army was to flee. So the gnat went back to the birds and the flying insects and told them this. And the wren said to the hornet, "Fly, find the fox and sting under his tail." So the hornet, and of course hornets are quite big, flew over to the opposing army and found the fox, which was quite easy because his bushy tail was up, and stung right under his tail. And for the first sting, the fox But with the second sting, it really hurt. And with the third sting, the fox could bear it no longer, and his tail fell down. And so all the four-legged animals saw the fox's tail fall and thought, all is lost. We must retreat. We must win. So all the four-legged animals ran away from the birds and the flying insects. And so it was that the birds and the flies and the gnats and the bees won the battle. By cunning, not by fighting. So later that day, the wren went to the bear and said, come and talk to my children, and come and say how sorry you are for calling them a disgrace. And so the bear did just that. It's kind of a nice story in a way. I kind of like the idea of the wren, this tiny little bird trying to take charge of an army. That I think it is. There is an eternal theme that runs through an awful lot of animal stories of cunning and intelligence can overcome brute strength. There's also a thing about the wren. The wren is the cutty wren that is sacrificed in the winter. Is supposed to be an last remaining image of the sacrifice of the year king. A lot of these stories do go back a very, very, very long way. I kind of feel sorry for the bear, the fox, the wolf, really. But I like the idea of an insect stinging something, and of course that image also appears in a Norse story where Loki shapeshifts into a horsefly and bites a dwarf. That's quite an interesting story about the making of Thor's hammer. But I would like that tiny little biting insects actually being quite powerful things. There we are. Let's think about that. Lots more Brothers Grimm stories and of course Viking stories on my YouTube channel. So please do subscribe and do listen to some other stories and do learn them yourselves and do tell them, because stories like to be told and it is good fun. And watch out for cunning foxes. Hope to see you again soon.